Jack's RPG Podcast. I'm in Max. Pursuing the RPG hobby with reckless abandon.
Scoop eyes.
Why, hello.
Oh my god,
The camera's not right?
Perfect.
Oh, it was wrong. I'm sorry. Thank you for joining us. Wow, mics are a little
Hi.
high. Thank you for joining us for season 23, episode 9. Is 9 really 9? I guess it's 9.
It's whatever you want it to be.
Your mute
Your
button's
mic's
on.
off.
Your mother's mic's off.
Thank you for joining us for season 23, episode 9 of Happy Jack's RPG Podcast. My name is Stu.
I'm Jason.
This is Tappy.
And I'm a Bria.
And this episode of Happy Jack's RPG Podcast is sponsored by EasyRollerDice.com.
Yes.
Do you like dragons? Do you like
Yes.
dragons?
I do.
Yes.
Doesn't.
What about dice? Do you like dice?
So much.
Do you like metal dice?
Well,
I only roll metal
Ideally,
dice at this point.
yeah. I mean, you have
Metal.
to. You have to be metal, yeah,
Yeah.
or it doesn't count.
Exactly. Easy Roller Dice has just launched metal dice of ancient dragons. Where's my badass thing? Come on, where is it?
I hope you pick Kimmy sneezing on us.
Huh? I put you want to sneeze?
We love you, Kimmy,
This
and your sneeze.
This series of dice features 4 stylings of metal dice complete with hand-drawn dragon font. The guys at Easy Roller Dice actually sent me some. They sent me 2 sets. I got a set of I don't know, would this be like bronze or gold?
No, those are gold.
Those are
Yeah,
gold.
those are
Goldie.
Dragon Clan.
Dragon.
Orichalcum.
Yeah.
They're orichalcum.
Orichalcum?
I thought Orichalcum was... We don't have to
I don't know what that word
It's
means.
good.
Oh, no, it's the magic metal from...
From demigods.
Yeah. Or from lots of things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean
But mostly from
mythology. I didn't make
demigods.
it up.
Yeah. It's yeah.
But we've been looking at these, and they're pretty awesome. And each little number is has a little tiny dragon on it. I don't know if you can
Those
see
very
that.
cute.
Yeah.
That little
Let me get the D6. The D6 you can
Yeah.
probably see it a little better.
the 4 is a good one actually.
Nice.
And we don't have to look at Stu.
Good. This is very good listening for the podcast
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
They're cute as fuck and like lethally pointy.
Yeah.
This is actually
They're
like a
lethally
bonus
Yeah,
for me.
so
I like them.
that's an additional. That's like a free service that you get
Right.
from these dice. Is also murder.
Do you need dice?
Well,
Caltrops?
blooded dice roll better.
Yeah,
We all know this.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
yes.
it is
submit
Yeah.
some of your life essence to them.
Exactly.
Or your enemies.
No, I had sent them an email suggesting they make hemp dice, and they said thank you for your input, but we're going to go with metal. So they've made these metal dice, and there's Kickstarter. You can go to easyrollerdice.com/dragondice. There'll be a
Yes.
link in the show notes. That's easyrollerdice.com/dragondice if you want to see them, and they have pictures of them up there right now. And I think it's still is it in Kickstarter? I don't know if it's in Kickstarter or if they're done. They might be done. I'm not sure, but these are them, and we would like to thank Easy Roller Dice for sponsoring the show.
And they're
Yeah.
they're not those like wimpy like almost hollow metal ones. Like these are they have heft to them.
Oh, yeah.
I like that.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Sad you
Like
said
if-
heft.
That's a heavy
If you
freaking die.
if you throw this, it could like land and like roost.
Damn you! Damn you! Hate it. It's like my least favorite word,
I know.
but only when he says it.
Yeah.
It's gross. Yeah.
That's not an accident.
But they come in a split. This is a standard seven piece set. So they come with a D6, a D4, percentile dice, a 20, and a 10. No, an 8. I don't even
There you
remember
go.
what dice. They're used in D&D.
They're very, very good.
It's been that long.
D&D!
You know what dice would be great? Have you ever seen Victorian mourning jewelry that's made out of dead people's hair? I want dice made out of dead people's hair. That'd be awesome.
I'll send them an email. We'll see if maybe they.
It's right there with, like, hemp.
I mean,
Dead people hair.
we could make it out of living people's hair and no one would know.
Excuse me, that is needed for black women for their weaves.
Oh, I'm
You
sorry.
cannot have it for your dice. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. All of the hair is spoken for.
Unless they're dead.
Yeah.
Then go to town.
Oh, man.
Then it's unspoken.
I want those dice now.
Is the
These are roll.
fireball
Please send more. What?
is the fireball sitting out like in case someone's bad? Like
I don't know. It was.
Thou art
It
punished.
showed up.
Oh man.
It just showed up.
I mean,
Do
I
it.
will drink Fireball whiskey because I like it and I'm made of garbage. But
Yeah, you're a trash boy. Let's drink
man.
that.
That's the cinnamon stuff, right?
yeah.
The
It's actually,
cinnamon stuff.
what's great is if you pour a glass of apple cider, like hard cider, and then put a shot in it,
Okay, that sounds fantastic.
it's like the best garbage.
So at East Jesus, people would bring us Fireball, and none of us drank it. So we'd try and pass it out and give it to everybody. So then everybody thought we really liked Fireball.
So start bringing
And
you
so I'd
more.
bring more. So we'd like, to get rid of one, we ended up getting like 8. I'm like, oh, goddamn, please.
Yeah.
Can you use it as fuel? Does it have a high enough
No,
You
alcohol?
can.
You
It's
can-
fuel
very
for
sugary.
shenanigans.
Yeah. Ah, dang it! I was gonna literally say that.
Yeah, I got you.
It's also good suggestion. Good in eggnog.
Oh yeah,
Which
I can see
I'm
that.
gonna go home and do now.
Yeah, I can
Thanks,
see
Blue
that as
Troller.
Awesome. So anyway, thank you to EasyRollerDice.com, EasyRollerDice.com/Dragon Dice. Thank you for sponsoring the show. If you want to support the show, support the sponsors, please. Thank you very much.
Yep.
And we'll mention them again here in a little while. But first,
Tell them who sent you.
in this episode, we're going to discuss PC questionnaires. Andreas from Sweden asks about the new Savage Worlds. I'm going to rely on Tappy. Have you read it yet? Have you looked at the new one yet?
I have not looked at the new one.
Okay.
But I have read the question and
Okay,
I have
all right.
things to say.
Good. And Johan from Sweden sends us a horror story. But
There's
first,
so many Swedish friends.
it's all yeah.
It's
oh,
awesome.
yeah. Every so often, Sweden says, "Okay, guys, none of us have written in a while. They're going to forget we're here." Boom! I get a bunch of emails from Sweden.
Where's that licorice? It's all gone?
No, it's in my suit coat because I always
okay.
take it to weddings.
What? Hold on. I'm so sorry. What? Why?
Because it's the greatest like joke candy. It's like you pull it out and have one, and you're like, and then you offer someone one, and they take it and like, oh.
You hate love.
At the last wedding I went to, someone's called. They're like, "You're a dick." It was awesome.
I had some on camera on BBT and was like, I regretted that. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
I tried not to cry.
Yeah, it's like it's saltier than salt.
Yeah.
Gross.
Some kind of ammonia something.
It's
With
delicious.
base notes of, like
Why would you put that
industrial
in your mouth?
cleanser.
It's good.
Yeah.
I've actually gotten to the point where I actually like it now.
Yeah.
So
No, it's
crazy
good.
for that one.
I guess I
like
can't
it.
complain. I like Vegemite. Like I
Vegemite's the bomb.
Enjoy it,
Man,
not just put up
and
with
once
it.
you told me how to eat it,
Yeah, by
I
the
think
micron.
I can do it.
You have to put it on by the micron.
Well,
Yes.
and with
Parts per
butter.
million.
Yes.
yes. Oh yeah.
Because I actually had Marmite, and I just put that on some toast, and I went, man, I don't. I guess I'm I guess I'm a not like it guy.
No, like a jar of Vegemite or Marmite should last you years.
For the,
Yes.
the rest of time. Yes.
Right.
because you're not touching it.
Well, no, yeah, if you use it in parts per million,
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Yeah.
The moment you're like, is this jam? The answer is no, it's not.
Oh my god, a peanut butter and Marmite sandwich.
Yeah. Americans
No,
are
people
idiots.
actually have that, or Marmite. Vegemite and cheese.
Oh,
I
okay.
could see that.
Yeah.
Like my
I
two
could see
least
that.
favorite foods.
But you still butter the bread, like even cold.
Oh, okay.
You would still put
yeah.
a little. It needs like a conveyance agent.
I think the fat cuts
Yeah.
that sort of harsh, salty.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you would like to email us, you can email us at happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. That's happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. We're also on all of the social medias. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, Facebook, and MeWe.
Are we on Snapchat?
No.
No. HappyJacksRPG, all one word.
I want a Snapchat now.
I'm taking care of MeWe, and I posted today. The first time I've posted in weeks.
Nice. Good job.
All right.
We're all very
I will-
proud
I'm
of
on
you.
the cutting edge of
Bleeding
the
edge.
MeWe.
Yeah. And I will totally remember
I'm
that
a me-weeple.
exists. Me-weeple.
And also, if you'd like to watch the show live, you can go to happyjocks.org/live on Friday nights, 7 p.m. Pacific time-ish, and we'll do a show for you. And you can watch, and we'll look at you. Awkwardly. Is
Is there any other way?
There is
You're not wrong. Yeah.
All right, now, so regarding PC questionnaires, you know what a neighborhood little library is?
I'm not sure.
Like the little
It's
birdhouse.
like a little box.
Yeah.
It has
Like-
little doors on it and a
yes.
roof,
Yeah.
usually
I've
of
seen
some
that,
kind.
yeah.
And people in the neighborhood will, books that they're done with or they
Yes.
don't want, they'll put them in there, and then you can go buy it and you see a book you like, you take it and you go and read it. Well, shock of shocks in L.A., there was a successful script writing book in our little neighborhood library.
Oh, I don't need this anymore.
Yeah.
What a
that.
Right, and of course, and
Perfect.
it's it's old. I don't know when this book was.
Well, there's no way to find out.
This is amazing.
1956.
Wow.
So back when there were like
1956.
3 movies and they weren't wasn't
Yeah.
sound yet.
They're silent.
Yeah.
That's older than Stu.
But I was paging through it, and I got to chapter 4, how to create a 3-dimensional character. And it had some interesting things in here, and it had sort of like what they call a character analysis, where they list a bunch of questions that the author should ask themselves about the major characters. And I thought that would be kind of an interesting, we may have done this before, I don't know. But I thought that'd be kind of an interesting topic, is to talk about the sorts of questions you like to put to your players when they're coming up with their characters as the GM, or questions that you think are thought-provoking as a player that you've asked yourself or you have been asked that have had an interesting consequence to the character creation process. That's kind of what I would like to talk about. And I can read through a few of these.
Yeah.
Now, some of them are very basic, like the name and the age and the sex, the physical appearance. How does your character feel about the way he or she looks? Describe the character's childhood in terms of relationship with parents, relationship with siblings, relationship with other key people in his or her youth, lifestyle while growing up, education, childhood activities, hobbies and interests, location, blah, blah, blah. Describe the character's education. Describe the character's current relationships to parents and siblings. My family's dead. You always get that
Yeah,
guy.
I was like,
Yeah.
RPGs.
At
Right.
what
Yeah.
age and how did all of your family die?
Exactly.
Exactly.
What weapon did your father leave you with his dying breath to with which to avenge him?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Describe the character's romantic life, married, involved, any relevant background, previous marriages, affairs, etc. Describe the character's sex life and moral beliefs. 1950s, they put those together.
Yeah.
Right.
Does the character have kids? Does the character's religious background or current religious beliefs? What's the character's occupation? Character's relationship with his or her boss or coworkers? What is the character proud of? What is the character ashamed of? Describe the character's state of health. How intelligent is the character? Summarize the character's relationship with other major characters in the screenplay or game.
God, this is the worst screenplay writing book.
but-
You're not building a show Bible. Write the script.
That's right. Well, I didn't IDBM the authors.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess they're not in there.
Oh my God, right? They made one script 30. I've probably read that fucking book.
Right.
It's like, what is this trash? None of this gets my thing done.
But
I know everything about it.
the interesting questions to me, which are questions that very often, at least I don't ask players, what is the character's goal? Why does the character want to achieve this goal? Who or what? Well, this gets more into the script part of it. This is for the GM side of it, who or what is going to try to stop the character from reaching this goal? I mean, that's a question that the GM could ask themselves when they get that information. What strengths of the character will help them reach their goal? How articulate is the character? Does the character have an accent or a dialect? Does the character use slang or professional jargon and things like that? So that's kind of their questions, which are that's fairly complete. But what do you guys think about having that sort of not really a template, but sort of just like a guideline questionnaire from the GM? Because one of the things I always ask for, do you have enemies? Because that's always nice fodder to have for the game, and you do have a rival as well. Because rivalries to me are more fun than an enemy, because rivalries, it's more about embarrassing each other or one-upping each other, not necessarily deadly.
And yeah, you don't immediately murder them the moment you see them.
Right, because you know they're going to do the same.
Well, I don't know how you do it, but
I think, a lot of the basic questions, what do they look like, what's their day-to-day like, how were they raised, those are fine. I think the only question I ever really try to ask my players, but never in so many words, is what is your character afraid to lose?
Oh, that's
Yeah.
And I
like
think
that one.
it establishes yes, obviously I'm looking for things with which to poke you and to look for plot hooks, but it also, I think in asking that in not those words, you get a lot of the other questions answered of just well, if I have, shoot, I'm going to try really hard to not talk about Urag, but I kind of want to. I will talk about a game that's not being streamed currently. But
you can talk about my character. It's all I want to talk about.
You hand me a bottle opener before
No, I
you...
cannot.
Thank you.
I even removed the cork from it just now, so you're welcome.
Excellent.
I forgot what I was saying. I was excited about the cork.
gonna
being
talk
open.
You're going to talk about Urog.
Oh yeah, like when we were talking before the Dragon Heist game started, I by learning that you had a family, it wasn't just like, here's the thing, I'm gonna hit you and your kids instead of like attacking you directly. But like I got so much around like the way Urag views herself with regards to like the social like level of her family, and then like outside of her family, and then like Waterdeep as a whole. Like it's the question that spurs them to answer a lot of other questions that you're not asking to. So that's my favorite.
I really like the what does your character like want to do? Why does your character want to do that? Just because that creates a character that is self-motivated, right? And those are, I mean, that's kind of step one in being a good player, is having your character want to do things that aren't just whatever is thrown in your face.
Right.
You know, why you want to do those things.
That also helps GM with game prep, too. Because it's like, oh, well, none of my players... I ran a online GURPS game for some listeners. Years and years and years ago. Fantasy game. It was going to be an exploration game. All the characters... Now, I didn't have a questionnaire, but all of the characters all took contacts and stuff in the city where the game started. So I'm like, I think they kind of want the game to be here.
Yeah.
So the game was just about intrigue between these two rival criminal gangs within the city. And it was a very different game than I would have run otherwise, but I made sure, when I looked through the characters, I was kind of looking for clues on that. Actually explicitly asking it, I think, is much easier.
And also, like, anything that isn't, like, I started going over Traveler again, because I'm thinking of doing something with it. And anything that is in Traveler character creation isn't necessarily dynamic.
Right.
Right? That's all stuff that's your rivals, your contacts, you know, what your skills are, where you went, like, what happened in your backstory. But, like, what are you afraid to lose? Why are you doing what you're doing? What is, you know, it's not like your deepest fears. Like, sometimes, like, what is your character most afraid of? Dogs.
Right.
Well, that's you know, that's difficult. But more like, what are you afraid to lose, or why do you want to do this? You know, like my character in the Vault game, in Jason's Vault game, why is he doing all of these things? Well, he wants to make sure that people need him to be alive. So he is making sure to do favors for everybody. And in so doing, sort of put himself in sort of a position of power with everyone.
Become
so that,
indispensable.
Yeah. I like
Sort
that.
of, right.
Right. And so that's why he's really intent on fixing problems for everybody. But that also gives him that motivation to be very proactive.
Right.
And having that behind it, though, leads to all other sorts of shenanigans, which I can't wait to do.
Right. Now, what do you think about the idea of starting a game, having the players play for a few sessions, and then asking questions like that?
Well, let me
go ahead.
back up a little bit to the prefacing thing, because I think it speaks to that a little bit. In that, I love those establishing questions about, like, where are you from? What's your family like? What wouldn't you want to lose? All those things. But also having slogged through so many, like, early, you know, Shadowrun games and D&D games where they meet in a tavern or they're a bunch of strangers and they're like, well, I don't know, how do I know you? I don't know you, I don't trust you, I'm not going to work with you. Like, we're playing a fucking game together. Like,
Buy in.
put it together. and like,
Respect.
and like 16-year-old me started asking them, and how do you know each other?
Yes.
Like, because I was sick of it at 16. And which is why when I finally found PBTA games like 3 years ago or whatever, and it's built into character creation that says, how do you know this character, or which character is your crush, or like you have to answer that question. Like, oh, cool! Suddenly I'm thinking about my character in a way that I wouldn't have been thinking about.
Yep.
And the whole idea of where are you from, but also, how are you connected to these other characters? Not are you connected, at least to one other one. And then, that can lead into, cool, now we can play a little bit, now we can answer some of those prefacing questions.
Because at least, go ahead.
In context with that, with just PBTA and kind of what we're talking about with motivation and like what you're scared of losing, is that idea of find out where the characters are weak and push there.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a big thing for PBTA, and
Right.
so that's why you need that information, and you should do that in all games,
Right.
and also find out what the characters want to do, and then help push that along. And so that's why these kind of meta questions are really important, as opposed to, when did your first dog die? Something, I don't know.
I think. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to transition to your second question about playing a little bit and then asking those kind of questions again. I think that ties in really well with what you were saying about, like, yeah, maybe I want to know upfront as a DM, like, where to push early on and, like, why you're here. But I think you can ask the interesting question of, like, what's your, like, real goal? Like, you've all met the plot now a couple sessions in, but, like, what's your goal here? Is a good question for a DM to ask as the campaign goes on.
Right.
So you can find out, like, those extra little plot hooks and, like, get some interesting insight on how your players are viewing, like, what the plot, like, the narrative is. And that can even help course correct if you're like, I know exactly what we're playing, and then you hear something back from a player and you're like, you're playing a slightly different game than I am. All right, I need to clarify. Or, I like your thing more. We're doing it that way now. Like, yeah.
Right. I mean, I've had players come to me since, not in the old days, but since we've started streaming specifically, saying, I'd really like my character. I'd like to explore this part of my character's aspect. And that's, to me as a GM, that's kind of like a gift. It's like, oh, you're giving me an interesting direction for your character, and this is something you actually want me to do. Okay, because sometimes, I don't know, sometimes as a GM, depends on the kind of game, because if you're going into, especially PBTA games, as a player, you're kind of expecting to get fucked with a little, right? But there's a lot of games where that's not the case. You know what I mean? And there's an assumption. That's why a lot of people, I have no family. You can't fuck with me because I have no family, right? That's why those players do that. So, but I think it's to have the player come up to you and say, I want to, Mac's character had lunacy. So, and she had, what do they call it? Frenzied a couple of times, and then some animalistic, either physical or other kinds of characteristics can appear after a frenzy. And she's like, I want them to, like, start to make her, I want them to be physical. So, like, she grew a tail in one of them, and they stay. I mean, you can make them go away, I suppose, but and then when the lunacy thing happened, she's like, we haven't really explored this. I have it, and I looked at the date, and there's a full moon coming up in like 2 days game time. So, and then and so but that gives me a heads up of what the players are looking for.
Yeah. And
I think it's very valuable to talk to the players occasionally about their characters, especially after you've played a few sessions and they know them. Because I don't know about you, but me, if I made the character, I usually have a reasonable idea who it is, but sometimes not much. Especially like traveler characters. You got a bag of bones. It's like I've got a past, kind of, and I have some stats. I really don't know who this character is, and it's all. I mean, the role playing cues in Traveler, there are none.
Yeah.
Right. You can do whatever, make your character anything you want in that. There's nothing about personality.
I would agree that you don't want to, like, have somebody come to the game with, like, a novel.
Yeah.
Right.
Or like 1,000-word backstory that
Shut up.
is for their character that...
I've seen those.
Yeah.
I won't
too.
mention her name.
Yeah. I mean, nobody at this table.
Never. What?
But like, for me, oftentimes I come to the table, I'm like, cool, I have this idea for a character, but then I learn way more about them at the table.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh crap, this is who that character is. And like,
Exactly.
So having like more establishing questions later on, or like, hey, is that like a thing you want to establish for your character? Because what you just did is pretty defining, and it gives someone a chance to also like walk back with like, oh, actually, I'm going to kind of retcon that a little bit because that's not really...
Right.
Like, if you as a GM are going to go, ooh, I'm going to circle back to this and do something with it, I would check in with them.
Okay, I like that.
So that you're not, like, catching them. Like, oh, gotcha. Of like, remember that time when you drank a beer in one big go, and you're like, wait, no, I'm not a beer guzzler. Like, well, you are now.
I don't know. In Traveler, my last Traveler game, definitely when we made characters, like, people didn't have a good idea, and definitely characters, like, were born while we played, and it was fantastic to watch that happen. But I don't. It'd be very weird for me to be like checking in with them during the game about their character, because it felt like it just kind of was organically happening. And I don't know, if it didn't organically happen, how to make that work.
Yeah. I think, like, little PBTA institutions like the Love Letter can be, like, if you're uncomfortable, like, just in general, like, if you're not comfortable, like, having those out-of-character, like, GM to player moments, like, pry with different things, like, ask a question about, like, what the character would do. I don't know. I didn't really have. This was a half of a thought, but just.
I mean, what I'm trying to say is, like, they're answering their own questions here, and
Yeah.
all
Sure.
I really have to do is pay attention.
Right.
That's fair.
You know,
I
and
agree with that.
then I can throw things down the line for them. Like
Yeah.
Bill's character, who was a crime boss essentially, also had a really soft spot for the mechanic, who he just thought was a nice person and a sweetheart. So he was going to protect her from all the bad things,
Right.
including just murdering people behind her so that she didn't notice, just so that she'd be okay.
That's just polite.
You know?
Right?
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah. So it was like, oh, this person cares. This person has almost like a fatherly aspect, for who really is like a Yakuza boss who just murders the fuck out of people.
Witnessing a murder is like owning a pickup truck. Because, I mean, if you
Go on.
like, if your best friend kills somebody, suddenly it's like, all right, you probably want me to help you bury the body, right? And if you own a pickup truck, it's like, oh, I'm going to be moving. All right, what time do you want me there? Right? It's very similar.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's exactly the
Very
same.
good.
All right, well, I'll go get, a whole bucket of lime.
Yeah.
We'll just do one part and then we'll bury another bit somewhere else. God damn it. I had plans this weekend.
What do you think brunch was actually started as? Like, all right,
yeah.
we'll hide the body in the morning and then get mimosas.
Yeah, that's a good plan.
Yeah. That's why it's later in the morning.
I always hide bodies at night.
Oh,
See,
that's
that-
why I keep getting caught for murder. Shit.
Or accessory.
Yeah.
No, you don't bury them. You just leave them out where nobody finds them.
Exactly. All right. So there you go. Anyone have any comments or questions or like stuff that we missed or stuff that we said that was stupid that you disagree with? Go to our forum,
Yeah.
happyjacksforum.com, happyjacksforum.com. Go there and tell us how stupid we are or how smart we are.
Do not
Or-
tell me I'm stupid. I will fight you. It's the internet.
You can call me stupid, but only me. And you can call Tappy stupid.
It's cool.
Oh.
Or how wrong we are. Or how right we are.
Yeah. I will fight the shit out of you.
But in a nice way.
Yeah.
In a very loving and caring way, you'll fight the shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a wrestle.
All right. Question.
Wrestle.
Yeah, a wrestle with a pen knife.
There was a game. I think it was by Avalon Hill called Wrastlin'. And you had like this little character sheet that had like special moves, and it was a wrestling game, and it was a lot of fun.
Did it come with the, like, you have to, like, give those little, like, interviews before and after
You know, that's going to be second edition.
Okay. I
Because
want
it
that.
didn't. But we started making our own. We kind of figured out the game balance of them, so we started making our own wrestlers.
Yes.
And I don't have it anymore. I don't know what happened to it, but
find
that was
it.
such a fun game. But turning that into a role-playing event would be so fun. It's almost like I've always wanted to play Diplomacy. I would like to do an AP of Diplomacy. You need 7 players, and play it where the people are. I'm Queen Victoria. We are not immune.
Dibs on Germany! I am very
Kaiser
good.
Wilhelm.
Yeah. See Germans.
But
Excellent.
if you've never played the game,
I fucking love Diplomacy.
it's
That's
so
my
much
jam.
fun. Oh, is it really?
Oh, yeah.
Good. Okay. I think we might
Because
have...
all you do is talk shit for 15 minutes and then get your orders wrong.
Yes.
Every time.
You got to double check that shit.
Oh,
I lost a war in, like, a season once. I was like, oh.
Do you all have to do shots like after each time you give orders?
that would be something.
Yes.
Like if you
Spring
capture a
14.
production point, you have to take a shot, or if you lose one, you have to take a shot.
No. Just everybody does a round, and then you do the next turn.
Okay.
And then everybody does a round, and then you do the
Everyone
next
does
turn.
a shot every 15 minutes or so?
Yes.
Good
Yeah.
lord.
It depends how long the game, how long your
that game is
diplomacy
going to be
phase
about
is.
an hour and a half.
Yep.
I would
We
say,
lost Italy.
I would
She's
say,
asleep.
I would say if you when you gain or lose.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you could
I like
use
this.
it. You could use it as as sort of a balancing mechanic. Like if you gain someone else's supply center, you have to take a shot.
Every country has their own alcohol, and if you take one of
Oh,
their
yeah!
supply centers, you have to drink their
Yeah.
supply
Oh
center.
yeah. The shot is just right there. So like Russia has like
God,
vodka.
yes.
and-
Yeah.
Mine will be Jaeger. No one will take my
Oh,
supply.
God.
Oh, you're wrong.
It's black.
That's like a
I know
love
the
Jaeger.
colors too.
That's a commitment.
Kimmy has to be
What is
Russia though.
What is Austria-Hungary? What is their
Oh,
drink?
well,
Like some sort of streusel.
That's not alcohol.
Look like
Not
a
with
schnapps.
that attitude.
It's like schnapps. It'd be schnapps.
Schnapps. It
yeah,
could be schnapps.
streusel is not schnapps.
I stand by what I
I
said.
mean, if you
I've been
try
watching a
hard
lot of
enough, it can
GBBO.
be.
England would be shots. What's France's?
That'd be absinthe.
Yeah, or port, like wine.
No,
Yeah.
absinthe.
It's got to be.
Russia's just vodka.
Absinthe
and
is
there's
120 proof. It's got to be absinthe.
Okay. For France? For France?
Yeah.
What about Italy?
Grappa.
Ooh, yeah.
I
That's
don't
good.
even know what that is.
Oh man, it's
Oh,
made
it's
out of like
intense.
the leftover rinds
It's
of
wine
grapes.
that made.
grapes.
Yeah, it's wine but liquor.
Oh, okay, it's liquor. All right.
Yeah.
And Turkey. Turkey's the other country.
I don't
Turkish
know.
delight. I
Yeah.
will keep naming not these things.
I don't know what.
I bet we could ferment
I
it.
don't know.
and
It'd be like
make something out of
ouzo,
it.
something very close.
Ouzo. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
ouzo.
Is Uzo Turkish?
No, it's technically
No.
Greek, but I'm sure they have an analog
It's close.
between the two
Yeah.
of them.
Right. Okay.
Just put some
we gotta
fucking rose
we gotta
butter
make this
in it.
happen.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm very
I'm in.
into this
I
now.
am in.
Now it can take 4 to 6, 7 hours to play a game.
It takes
I'm-
forever.
I
Like,
am not in.
I still want to do Twilight Imperium, but role played out.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that would be fun.
Just
Uh,
that will be our next
Oh
24-hour stream, but
we're
it will
trying
be 24 hours
yeah,
one
we're
game.
you're trying to make Twilight Imperium longer.
Yes. With accents.
All right. A question of game design from Andreas in Sweden. Who would like to read this?
I do.
Go ahead.
Hi, Stu and the crew. I will be short and to the point. As there's a new edition of Savage Worlds kickstarting as I type this, I wonder about what I'd change in the present edition. But then I remembered that some of you people were actually credited in the deluxe edition, so maybe you have some more insightful suggestions. I gather Stu might have found out a few new things about game design while writing Moment of Truth. So, what would you change in the new edition of Savage Worlds, apart from the broken chase rules that never even tell you if you've caught your prey or not? Well, drink!
Ah, crap.
Andreas of
Hey, you
this
guys want?
with
There's the Japanese whiskey.
Yeah, we need the
and there-
whiskey.
I don't know where cups are, and it's really noisy when I
You know what?
unmic.
Start talking, Tappy, and I'll go get cups.
Oh, okay, you got some time then.
Deep breath.
Actually, I have notes on my computer. I may have to look at those. So, the first thing with Savage Worlds is, I'm one of the people who's credited on it, but I'm also critical of the system because it builds itself as kind of a generic universal gaming system, and I really, really don't believe in that. I think games need to have a certain kind of mouthfeel to promote the type of game you want to play.
Okay.
And so Shane Hensley, who's the guy who started Pinnacle and did Deadlands and Deadlands Hell on Earth and all of that, is also the guy who did this. And he has always loved like different die types and cars and all that stuff together, and it's totally cool. But it really, really, really needs to just be pushed as like a pulp game and not as some sort of universal game.
Okay.
Like, that's the thing. That's just my personal pet peeve. Is please, please, please don't say this is universal because it just fucking isn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I have the same thought about PBTA too. A lot of people look at it as like, oh, it's just this 2 dice plus a stat system with some moves, and like all these games are the same, but they're totally not.
Yeah.
Like they're the same in that
you.
like they use dice, but a good PBTA isn't just reskinning that concept.
Right.
It's bringing in all these it's making the theme of your game part of the rule set.
Yes.
And
that feels good.
Yeah.
That makes the game just work better in general.
Yeah.
And so I think that everybody will be happier with Savage Worlds being a pulp game, just kind of in general.
Yeah, if they can just embrace that and say what they are and not try to be everything all at once, I think that's going to be a lot better.
And it is a fantastic pulp game.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And it's so good for Deadlands, too, which makes sense because Jane Hensley, but also it takes Rifts, which is unplayable, and turns it into a really fun pulpy game.
Literally unplayable.
So
Well,
mechanics-wise...
We ran both Rifts, the Savage Worlds Rifts, and then we also ran. And we didn't run the Palladium system in Rifts, but we ran it in Dead Rain. Mm-hmm. Very very well organized book. Very playable.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it had more to do. It's a later setting, but the organization of the book I thought was great.
Nice.
It was fantastic. Because that's the problem I had with some of the earlier Palladium books. It's really hard. The stuff's just kind of spread out.
Oh, yeah. It's over 30 books.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, things with lots of action, skirmish style, I mean, this game is just really good for.
Right.
And it kind of needs to have a battle mat and everything, because that's what it's all designed for, but it works. It's designed at a point when you had 3.5 that had so much glut to it and everything. I mean... I think just after this came out, oh gosh, what is it called? Oh, I forget. It was a Spanish game, but it's like arithmetic the game. It's,
Who doesn't
really
love
terrible.
that?
Yeah. So mechanics-wise, I really want them to fix the dice percentages because it really fucking sucks to go from a D6 die type to a D8 die type and have it feel like it's worse. Because just how the dice work and how the exploding dice work, you will explode slightly more, and so like your chances of rolling higher with 2d6 is kind of slightly better than rolling high with 1d6 plus 1d8. And that's kind of the pocket on where most of your skills and most of your traits are going to be.
Right.
And so that just kind of sucks.
That would
when
be
you're playing it.
That would be a major system change.
Well, there are things you could do. Like you could do it where because wild cards are the only ones who roll wild dice.
Right.
So you could say just when the wild dice rolls a 6, then you roll another die of your die type. It would.
Okay.
You'd have to change a whole bunch of other rules because you'd explode a lot less.
Right.
But then you could do other things where you roll multiple wild dice, and if any one of them rolls a 6, then you get to roll another die.
Yeah, I remember you made a character for a Savage Worlds the fantasy game, and you kind of stuck to a lot of D4s.
Yeah.
And exploded, 25% of the time.
Yeah. Pretty much. Oh, and then I took, what was it? The Jack of all trades or whatever is close to that, where you don't roll 1d4 minus 2, you just roll 1d4 if you don't have the skill.
Right.
And so that's what I was really kind of testing there is like, does it feel okay? Are you good at, nothing and actually succeed a lot? And the answer is yes. And so I really want them to fix that kind of feel to the game, to where it's like, I really don't want a D12.
Right.
I'd really rather have like D6s.
Right, because that's kind of more of the sweet spot for the exploding thing. Right. Yeah, I get that. Now, Eric on MeWe, because I posted a preview of the show of what we're going to be talking about. He said the new Savage Worlds with once again new chase rules because they always seem to struggle with that. I do like that they have skills now that automatically started a D4 in them so that people can do simple tasks and not be completely horrible at them, like stealth, notice, common knowledge, off the top of my head. I have the deluxe rules, and there will be an update, so I don't have to buy the book if I don't want to, which would be nice.
Speaking of chase rules, one of the things that'd be really great they would do is deal with relative speed instead of like what your ground speed is.
Right.
So they have all these
Which
car
is
rules.
that makes sense for
Yeah.
a chase.
It doesn't matter how fast you're going. It matters how fast you're going. Like, did
Compared
you
to the
get
other guys.
closer or further away?
Yeah.
And you have models for this game, so just put them down. And then if you are winning, then you get closer.
Right.
And if you are sucking, you get further away. And it's
Right.
really simple. You don't need to have ambiguous like chase rules and then like car rules for like what degree angle you can turn your car at in order to get.
Is that real? Oh no.
I don't know if that's
I know
not, that's
nothing
not
of
in
this
the deluxe
in the
chase rules,
deluxe.
is it?
No, that's not the chase rules, but those are the vehicle rules.
Right.
Because the chase rules are very kind of ambiguous and weird with, okay, well, this chase is going to be a 5 times we test chase, but and this is going to be a 10 times. But there are some that you're just going to go into ever until somebody wins, but then they never describe how you win.
Right.
See, this is one of the things. Okay, maybe the one thing that D&D 4th edition did right was the skill challenge, and the something that I had never seen codified in any other place. I've talked about this many times. That the idea of you set out to the skill challenge and you say like, look, you're going to chase this guy down. You're going to catch him. This challenge is about what happens on the way. Did you all take a bunch of damage on the way?
Yeah.
Are you going to catch him and there are bugbears there? Did you catch him early and you don't have to deal with all those other things? And, you know, like dealing with that ahead of time, we don't have to go through every 6 squares and then draw a new map and go every, like, we don't need to do it that way. We can abstract this out to the point where it's still fun and also, you don't want to do anything in your game that has the potential to stall out the game. The thing that bugs me the most is the like characters are in a locked room. Like, okay, so we're gonna roll to unlock the door. It shouldn't be do you get the door open? It should be how quickly do you get the door
exactly.
open? Is the
Or
guard
how-
outside?
How quietly you
What
get the
cost
door.
is there to getting the door open?
Is the room
Exactly.
filling up with water? You know, like that. Like that's interesting, right? But like, oh, I'll just roll lockpick again. Sorry, like, fuck you.
Right, and if you just get to keep rolling, you open the door.
Yeah.
Right.
And also, like, one of the things that Savage Worlds is really good at is keeping action going. And so it's odd that in these places they kind of deviate from it. And I'd like them to kind of just sort of stick with their guiding principles with everything else.
Right.
One of the other things I'd love to see is Shane Hensley has always been into cards and dice together.
Right.
Just always been into that. And so there's the mechanic of dealing cards out for initiative. I would really love to see people get more or less cards based on certain traits, like, say, Spirit and Smarts. And
Do you have a flat bonus to go with the card, or is it
No,
just
no,
pure
no.
random?
You get like everybody gets 3 cards because of their traits.
Okay.
So you look at these cards, and one of them you're going to choose for your initiative. Right. High initiative goes first, obviously. Low initiative goes last. But the suits of that translate to your traits. Like hearts could be like strength and vigor together because you very rarely roll vigor as like a skill.
Wait, what game is this from?
Savage Worlds.
Oh, this is Savage Worlds. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've never really played a campaign. So.
And so like
You only get 1 card for initiative now.
yeah, you only get 1 card for initiative.
He's giving his.
The time we must have played it wrong. Whoever ran it for me, there were 0 playing cards.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
That's totally
initiative.
wrong.
That's always been
Yeah.
initiative.
The only time I played it
I mean, that's
was
probably why I didn't like this game
a
very
college
much.
party.
You start with the ace and you go all the way down to the
Yeah.
2 and you go in order.
Yeah, and there are jokers, and there are you can buy certain things that only trigger when you get dealt a joker, which is
I had that with my glitter boy. That's a guy on the end there.
Oh,
Is that the
don't
glitter
worry,
boy who
I
killed
remember.
everybody?
It's very good.
I got 2 jokers during the course of that campaign, and one of them was at a time when it was a fight that we really didn't want to actually get into, and I'm like, but I've got a really good shot, and I'm going to do a shit ton of fucking damage. It's like doubles the amount of damage you do.
Yeah.
Oh shit! Okay.
yeah. That's like my character in Jim's game. One of the things with things can sometimes explode too much.
Yes.
And so I had a die explode too much, and I was dealt a joker, and I had a thing that doubled my damage. So I did like 60 damage to this thing, and Jim's like, "Okay, well, you just saw the villain, and now it's dead, and congratulations." And we kind of like lost out on that combat.
Okay.
But it also would be bullshit. It's like, well, that didn't happen. So you're kind of in a bad place there.
That was his body double.
Yeah, right. But I think it'd be super cool. Like if you have these cards, and it's like if you play a heart, you get like a bonus, like you roll an extra wild die, or you get like a +2 bonus, but it's a 4. Or you could play your 10 and go first. Because in most role-playing games, a hit is like a clean hit.
Yeah.
Right. And so the best thing to do is to go first.
Right.
And in some games, this makes sense, like L5R, because like Kendo is basically the reflexes sport.
Yeah.
You know, you have people with reflexes of like 0.02 seconds, and those are like world champions.
That's wild.
And so that totally works. But like for other games, I think it'd be interesting to give people this kind of tactical choice on, okay, I can act in these spaces, and certain things that I do will be better or worse based on what I choose.
Right.
And then everybody puts their card down, and then everybody, including the GM who does one for their people, how many they do, then everybody turns it up at once, and then you see who goes first and who doesn't, so that you can't like choose afterwards or something.
Right. Major criticism I've had of Savage Worlds has to do with magic.
Oh, I heard there's a big fix to that.
Good.
Yeah, I was listening to Kurt Potts' Pixel Scandal, another great podcast. And they had done some preliminary looking at the new magic system and how spells worked, and they've played it a ton, and we're super excited about the new system.
Yeah.
That's
Side
awesome.
note, that's the only time I've ever played Savage Worlds was for Kurt's Nuclear Night School.
Yeah.
So
Pixelscandal.com if you want
Yep.
to go watch Kurt's show.
So all I'm saying is I have nothing to complain about because Kurt ran a perfect game.
Oh,
There you
yeah.
go.
Oh, yeah, I did play that. We played it online, so I guess we didn't have cards, and maybe I don't know. I might have been drinking. It was a game about a college party.
Oh, what's that? Okay,
and
yeah,
there was
right,
drinking,
same.
and I was like, I should play along.
Right.
And it's a little fuzzy what happened.
I get that.
Ours was,
It was-
the very last game of the Rainbow Railroad marathon, so I don't remember it.
It was very
It
fun.
was good though.
Yeah.
But that's my biggest problem is that there's a blast. Whatever a blast is, it could be a fireball, it could be a psionic attack, it could be anything, right? I would like to see more granularity in that so that stuff has a little more variance to it, or it has a little more flavor to it.
Which is why
Mechanic flavor.
Yeah.
Well, but getting rid of the generic concept kind of opens that up for more mechanical things, because you don't have to worry about certain things.
Right.
You know, you only have to worry about pulpy shit.
Right. That's true.
And so, but I agree. I 100% agree.
That's it. All right. Last email. Horror and perspective from Johan in Sweden.
HORROR, by the way.
Hara.
Hara.
Havre.
Hawa is what brings us here together
Halle.
today.
Kind of, yeah.
Hawa.
Hawa.
Halle.
That blessed
Holy moly.
arrangement.
Can I read like the first half
Yeah,
and
read
then
the first
trade
half.
off?
Sure.
Oh, snap.
Hi, douchebags. Johan from Sweden here. Nobody
And all
wants
Sweden
this.
just tuned out.
I know.
No,
I'm so
I
angry.
want this. I
want
want
it to
this.
stop.
Yes, yes, yes.
It will only encourage more emails from
No,
Sweden.
no.
Don't do it. I'm kidding.
I write to you with a short horror story and an anecdote about unusual perspectives. First, the horror story. Many years ago in high school, I was playing a one-shoot with a bunch of other kids my age.
You're a jerk.
The GM was a friend of mine. Same GM as my last horror story, but this is an earlier incident.
no.
Hopefully they don't listen. And the other players were a girl 1 year our junior, her boyfriend, and her stepbrother. I had not played with this group before except for the GM, so was given a character made for an earlier one-shot of a halfling-like race where everyone had logic like a child, which was a blast to play. Oh,
sounds
probably
great.
Kender? It was probably a Kender.
Yeah.
Because they, okay.
I don't know what they're playing. It's in Sweden. It could be they have all kinds of crazy
Yeah, it
games.
could be anything. The character also came with a quirky bit of gear, a healing dagger, stab him and hope the healing outweighs the damage.
I love that.
That sounds like something I would cook up.
I don't want to be healed. You sure do.
Yeah,
That's,
that's
a
like
very good item, and I will be using it.
That's
as
like
my
a
awesome.
that's like a demigod's item. Right
Hell
there.
yeah.
Like,
That's very
this will
good.
probably work.
Either way, I'll like it.
We started somewhere, I can't remember, and after a while we ended up in a house with weird interior dimensions. Hallways where the direction of up was not constant, etc. Thus far, all fine and well. At this point, we were a little bit at a loss on how to proceed. We were about 2 hours into the game, but the girl's character had some OP plot device gear and ended up in a sidebar with the GM because of that. Yeah, sidebar. Okay, I'm already on board with this.
You're triggered now.
Yeah, I have feelings. This needed not have been a problem, but we waited and waited.
Oh no.
And the off-topic chatter got further and further from the game.
Oh dear.
And everyone not in the sidebar was starting to get very bored. Yes, because that's what happens with sidebars. Mm-hmm. After more than half an hour. Oh, good lord.
That's a very long sidebar. Sidebars
Also,
should be.
I
for
assume
minors, like a half hour is forever if you're not an adult.
I assume they were making out, right? Like
That's,
Excuse me, she had a boyfriend.
That
your
doesn't mean
boyfriend
they
the
can't make
GM?
out.
girls have got to get it. So
was the
Respect.
boyfriend the GM?
No.
no. After more than a half hour, the GM and player finally got back into the room. They were definitely making out.
Yeah, fair.
I think so.
Yeah.
Let's
and-
just buy into that fantasy that like all DMs get play.
Here
That's
we go.
what sidebars are for.
Yeah.
Here we go, though.
Yeah.
It's true. We got back into the room, and the player declared that the adventure was solved. Fixed it.
What the fuck? She won. You can all go home now.
I bet she did.
We can go to the actual bar.
Her character was also not allowed to say how it transpired for okay, now it's creepy for unknown reasons.
I think we can figure that out.
Yeah.
That was that game session. I guess it comes as no surprise to anyone hearing this that he fancied her to her mildish annoyance.
See, go fuck yourselves.
Yeah. She's all pissed.
All right,
Yep.
dang it. She kept playing role-playing games after this, but not with this GM. I fucked it up. Okay.
Yeah, you did.
He was a creep.
knew it.
Now I feel bad.
Yeah, he's totally a creep.
All right. I thought she
Session
was
was finished because he did, because he got to
If
talk
you
to
go
her
out with
alone
me,
in
I'll
a
let you
room.
guys win.
No, he was.
It was keep talking to me in this sidebar until I finish.
Yeah.
End of session. Yeah. Clocked that from a mile away.
Don't look at me.
So
Don't look at me. 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 Look at me.
Oh, no.
Yep.
Oh, my God.
That's awesome.
That's so wrong.
love
That is so
role-playing
wrong.
games.
Anybody who does that deserves to be stabbed with a not healing
That's
dagger.
a long.
An opposite of healing
Yes.
dagger.
So a dagger.
Yeah. So yeah, a dagger.
Yeah.
But it's a magic dagger of not healing.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Sidebars, 5 minutes.
Oh,
If you can't solve it in 5 minutes,
at most. Or ideally, don't sidebar.
Sometimes you have to.
I like sidebars because I like, as a player, I like not knowing things I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like whispers, not sidebars.
We've had this
Yeah,
discussion.
Yeah.
No, and I shouldn't even say that because I had a whole game where I was secretly a robot. And that was
Spoilers!
very
I hadn't
fun for
finished
me.
it yet.
I didn't say what game it was.
Dragon Heist.
It's Dragon Heist.
Giant orc robot.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my next character.
It's the perfect of everything.
Steam powered.
Orcs are
It's called
perfect.
flatulentia.
Well, that took it somewhere new.
I like everything that's happening.
But if robots are perfect and orcs are perfect, then obviously
Yeah,
then
no,
that's,
yeah, is actually perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, everybody would have, even if they're good role players, would have role played slightly differently.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
would probably
You're
have
right.
figured it out
Yeah.
sooner.
Yeah,
Even just really, really, really wanting to not.
it's true.
Right.
I have so many ideas based on surprising characters when I'm running a game, and when I'm playing a game, like the prop war that I had with Mac.
Right.
That was super
Just
cute.
had to just like,
It
but
all
surprising
starts.
everybody with it
Yeah.
Right.
was really important. Because then you have that kind of shock and awe that only explosions can give you.
Right. Did you bring M80s into the studio?
No.
To light them off?
No, I should have. Next time.
Let me know and I'll open the garage door so everyone's eardrums don't pop.
There you go.
Oh, yeah, but all of your system's going to blow. So,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All
We're
your
talking
mics-
too much about blowing and explosions following the
I'll set the
sidebar.
limit.
Yeah.
I'll set the
I'm
limit.
upset.
Okay.
Well, we're not
Pause
even
for-
done with this email.
Pause for talking.
Yeah.
Well, that was what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's going to take
I'll
over?
go.
Okay.
So to continue, another one shot a few years later, I was hanging around with 3 friends and it was decided that I should run a game. 3 seconds of preparation later, I believe you're underestimating the amount of time it took you to
Yeah,
run.
also, that's what happens if you're the last to say not it. So
Yeah.
that's just that's what
Nose
you get.
goes.
3 seconds of preparations later, I started the players with an idea that I had bounced around in my head for some time. See? More time. We were going to play Intelligent Mice.
Okay.
The scenario started with the characters realizing that all the food in the keep where they had been living had run out, and all the humans to, I guess they have to move, had to move, then find a new place to live.
It's Secret and Nim.
Right.
You're
okay.
playing Mice and Mystics. This is
Okay.
good.
I guess they have to move house and then find a new place to live. The players soon started to move out, and after a while ran across a small farm with a few houses around a central yard. They started by scouting one of the houses and found several huge creatures with large horns and a lot of teeth. They appeared to have passed unnoticed, though. At this point, the players spent probably 15 minutes before they realized they were up against cows.
Amazing.
I had no idea. I had at no point described them as threatening, but by describing them from the viewpoint and scale of a mouse, I had managed to get the players to not realize that they were for quite what they were for quite a while.
Did they not know they were mice? Is that clear at the beginning?
No,
here?
I
they're
know they
playing
knew they're mice.
Intelligent
That was
Yeah.
his immediate conceit. I would assume they knew
Yeah.
they were
We were
mice.
going to play.
I
Yeah.
want them to be wizard mice now.
Yeah,
That'd
right?
be so dope.
We should play Mice and
It'd be
Mystics.
awesome
Yeah.
to run a D&D
Yeah.
game, but everyone is mice.
Yeah.
Like Redwall.
Yeah.
But you find
Yeah.
out at the end that you're mice.
Well
You
played.
find out at the end that you're
That's
mice.
You were mice the whole time.
But Mice and Mystics is also that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see mouse
But I like that
people.
you reference Redwall. That's very good.
As opposed to Mouse Guard, where they spoil it right in the very beginning of the
yeah.
game.
You know that you're mice.
Yes. After a round of OMG, or Oh My God, the adventure continued with the real nemesis being a cat.
Yeah.
And concluding with the players first driving the farm horse into the bog and then rescuing it.
Yeah.
Nice.
What are your thoughts on using descriptions like this to make ordinary things seem alien-based on the character's perspective? Best regards, Johan. P.S. I was thinking of making up aliases for the players in my horror story. How about Stu, Kimmy, and Tabby? Wouldn't that make it easier?
Oh yeah, that's
like that
perfect.
spell.
Winky smiley face. P.P.S. Your podcast is awesome. As always, douchebags. Thank you. P.P.P.S. I really need to play some more games soon. Otherwise, I will run out of stories at this speed. P.P.P.P.S. Cheers.
Well, that means we have to drink.
Cheers.
Cheers!
Yakida.
Yay!
We're drinking whiskey. I thought we were drinking.
What are your thoughts on using descriptions like this? Fucking slam dunk,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, yeah.
so good that they were
Absolutely.
like, oh shit, it was a cow. Like, that's
Yeah.
great.
I mean, if you're playing mice, I would think over the course of the first couple of sessions, you're going to want to get the players to forget they're playing mice.
It sounds like
Because
that's
you're
what
not-
happened.
You're not
Yeah.
tiny. You're normal sized.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? So I would even have a couple of establishing sessions where you're fighting things of similar size, so you start to get used to the scale
Right.
that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And then cats are the size of 5 elephants that eat meat.
Right.
And can swallow you whole.
Yeah.
I was getting like mad Watership Down vibes, and it was stressing me the fuck out.
I had a good time. One of my early games of like trying to subvert expectations. I said, oh, we're going to play Space Explorers, right? So we're in a spaceship and we're going to explore planets. And they didn't understand that they weren't human, right?
okay.
And they discovered Earth, like a wrecked civilization, going through stuff and like finding DVDs and computer. Like, wait a minute, what?
That's really good.
Yeah,
That's cool.
I like that a lot.
you didn't have been swallowed by a small dog?
No. That'd be ridiculous.
Yeah. I think there is a Watership Down role-playing game.
I would never play it. Like that mean ass rabbit that ripped up the girl. I can't.
Yeah.
I'm getting
too
emotional.
I've never read and or watched it.
It is a cartoon that should never be shown to children.
Like,
much
it's-
like Grave of the Fireflies.
I don't
Yep.
know. I had never heard
Same.
of it.
Oh,
But it's also
man.
Watership Down has that weird, like, jerky, terrifying animation, like the last
yeah.
unicorn that you're
Yeah,
like, why am I
yeah.
watching this?
Totally.
It's not for me. Sorry. I think it's really cool. I like playing little mice. Like, I like little, like, there's a game called Mice and Mystics where you were playing, like, little wizard mice, and it's cute. And I like those things that feel like, it just feels like it takes all the pressure off of having, like, very dramatic storylines in an RPG. So, like, yeah, be a
Yeah.
freaking mouse.
Right.
Or you can dig in and have an amazing, like, emotional, engaging
that's true.
storyline. Like,
Yeah.
if that's what everyone wants.
Sure. By the way, there are 2 role-playing games based on Watership Down.
No!
There's The Warren by Bully Pulpit. Those are the people that make Fiasco. And there's also Bunnies and Burrows, which was inspired by Watership Down.
Nice.
Ah,
Alright.
is that like one of the old school gaming renaissance ones? 'Cause that sounds like it.
Fantasy Games Unlimited. I
Oh,
believe
okay.
it's now being published. Oh, what's the name of that company? The same people that made Nuke War and Nuclear Escalation, the card games.
Oh, okay.
They're in Arizona, and the guy's always at our cons.
Sorry, guy that we apparently know and don't
Oh,
remember your
dang.
name.
Sorry, buddy.
I gotta look it up. Hold on. Give me one
Tevin?
second.
Yeah.
It's not Kevin.
No,
I
Tevin.
said Tevin.
It's not Tevin either.
Grunky Wizzle Teeth.
You don't know that for sure.
Yeah,
Pretty
until
sure
you give me a real name.
Wizzle Cheeks.
His name is Tevin Whistlecheeks.
Tevin Wizzle Cheeks is the name of my next character.
Perfect. All right, he's guessing on the next Dragon Heist. It's going to be good.
Yes.
Flying Buffalo.
Ah,
Flying
Okay.
Buffalo. Flying Buffalo. Now, I think they.
That's a
I think-
person's name?
No, that's the name of the company. That's the name of the company.
I just want to get in the studio one time and not get a
It's-
fucking spit take.
It's Mr. Buffalo to you.
I apologize.
oh God.
Well, my nose is clear now.
Yeah, right?
There's a bunch of whiskey in
You're
it.
welcome.
Fuck you, Jason. Killing it, bro.
What's the phrase? Neural dystopia? What's the?
Neurodivergence.
Oh, you can say it
I
now.
can say it now.
Well, I EQ'd your cold out.
Yeah,
Oh,
thank
yeah.
you.
You're welcome. All right.
Neurodystopia is just my brain.
There we go.
All right. Thank you, Johan, for the email. We appreciate it. And that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. Easy Roller Dice.
Oh, yes.
Hell
Thank
yeah.
you. Thank you to Easy Roller Dice for sponsoring the show and their new metal. What are they called? Metal
Yeah.
Dragon.
I'm literally
I don't know where the
That
D20
fucking
went.
metal.
It's
Yeah, I'm
weird.
literally
I
going
think
to go
it's
look
lost.
this up when we're done.
Metal Dice of Ancient Dragons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the gold with
That's
green.
fucking awesome.
Should have snaked that one.
And, they look
So
good.
pointy.
There's little dragons.
I like
Little numbers are made out of little dragons.
Yeah. All the numbers on every side of every die is a tiny dragon,
make
and
them
it's
kiss.
fantastic.
And they did a really good job. I mean, the detail on them is really fine.
Yeah.
I don't know how they did that. It's fantastic.
Okay.
Anyway, easyrollerdice.com/dragondice.
Sweet.
Easyroller.com/dragondice. I'll put it in the show notes. Thank
Hell
you very
yes.
much for sponsoring us. And go check them out because they're a sponsor and we love them
Nice.
so much. Thank you.
Awesome. Can we shout out
Yeah, sure.
our... Okay, sweet. I just
Scream.
want to shout out... we already did our fundraiser, but we are leaving our donations for Rainbow Railroading open till the end of the year.
HappyJacks.org/rainbow.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
if you
Yes.
didn't get to watch, all the streams are up on video on demand all over YouTube and Twitch, so you can watch the crazy games that we played for 24 hours. They were nuts. Watch Kimmy slowly lose her fucking mind across like
12 hours
It
of
was
gaming.
amazing.
Yeah.
I told her to wake me up for the second game.
You're
and
so
she-
pleasant when you're asleep. I don't know why we didn't wake
None of
up.
you know that. None of you know that. And she says, I was afraid to wake you up. I'm like,
Yeah.
And you're like, how long have you known me?
I was
Yeah.
expecting someone to knock on the door at 4 a.m. or whatever time
Yep.
it was supposed to be, or midnight or whatever.
Yeah.
And I would drag my ass out of bed. Give me like 5 minutes, and
Yeah.
I'll be fine.
Yeah.
I won't be pleasant, but I'll be fine.
No, I was banking on you not being pleasant because that was my game at midnight.
Yeah, surly.
I was really
Wait
excited
a minute,
about
a surly Shadowrunner, what would that be like?
it. Yeah, right?
Could you imagine?
I want to play something that kills a lot of stuff. But also, if you want to see me run GURPS, I ran a GURPS game. That's the first GURPS game I've run on the stream.
Yep.
So good.
It was fun.
And that's it. And I'm going to play this thing.
Yay.
Oh.
Bye.
Oh. Yeah! Yeah! Thank you for joining us for Season 23, Episode 9 of Happy Jack's RPG Podcast. My name is Stu.
I'm Jason.
This is Tappy.
And I'm Abria.
And we'll leave you with a song. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific Time. HappyJacks.org/live.
From Michigan to Australia and maybe East Timor, be it red, sword, exalted, GURPS or Dungeons and Dragons, hero, pathfinder, fate or savage wild, evil plots will be usurping, though we could do with less burping. Happy Jack's podcast will be douchebag song. For a lad that's come from seas, hey jolly room man, that gladly now would take his ease, and therefore make me room man. To France, the Netherlands, and Spain, hey jolly room man, I cross the seas and back again, and therefore make me room man. Yet in these countries there lived I, hey jolly room man, and valiant soldiers I've seen die, and therefore make me room man. 100 gallants there I killed, hey jolly room man, besides a world of blood I've spilled, and therefore make me room man. In Germany I took the town, hey jolly room man, through the walls there upside down, and therefore make me room man. At Tilbury camp with Captain Drake, hey jolly room man, I make the Spanish fleet to quake, and therefore make me room man. When the Spanish fleet did call, hey jolly room man, I drove them back with fiery balls, and therefore make me room man. From Erin's Isle they held their boast, hey jolly room so man, I ran their ships into the coast, and therefore make me room man. At Holland's Leaguer there I fought, hey jolly room man, but the service proved too hot, and therefore make me room man. And from the league returned I, hey jolly room man, naked, hungry, cold and dry, and therefore make me room man. But here now come past the globe, hey jolly room man, and I'm returned as poor as Job, and therefore make me room man. And now I'm safe returned here, hey jolly room man, here's to you in a cup of English beer, and therefore make me room man. Here's to you in a cup of English beer, and therefore make me room man.
The preceding program has been a presentation of the Angry Folk Media Empire.